Hi everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we have a really cool interview with Lalit. For those of you who don't know Lalit, make sure to check the video to find out what he has to do with the software testing community, what he has to do with tea time, what he has to do with QCSD, and what is his collaboration and contribution to the software testing community. Enjoy the interview.
So, hi everyone. It's me, Daniel, and I have Lalit with me today in my interview style or podcast style, or not. It's not really a podcast, but it's an interview on my YouTube channel. I'm really happy that Lalit finally made it to the YouTube channel that I have here. And without further talking, Lalit, please introduce yourself to the audience. Like, tell us who you are, what you're doing, and what are you doing with testing.
Well, right now I'm talking to Daniel, and my first achievement of the year 2024 is already unlocked, being on his podcast. Hello everyone. As you know, my name is Lalit. I'm doing lots of things. Uh, but to maybe summarize some exciting stuff that I'm lately working on, Daniel, I'm looking after Accenture Quality Engineering Services, DACH regions, thought leadership group. I'm leading the group with another a colleague of mine, and it has been an interesting assignment on top of the cool stuff I'm working with in the Accenture song and my DevOps colleagues. Apart from that, Tea Time with Testers continues to run after, I think, 12 years of a period. And I'm also working closely with Association of Software Testing
Mhm.
uh, as its VP of Education, trying to promote BBST courses and
Interesting.
system
Mhm.
more. And yeah, speaking at conferences, thinking about different topics, challenging the status quo, writing stuff. It's same me, nothing new about it. But yeah, that's all uh, about me and what I'm up to this year.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I mean, yeah, for those of you who don't know Lalit, I mean, Lalit is doing a lot of stuff in the testing community. I mean, it's not only Tea Time with Testers, it's like a really great magazine that covers a lot of things about software testing, software quality, and what comes with it, like what's important to actually survive in testing and to learn from it. And that's really cool. And also, the things that you're doing with AST and BBST is great, right? I mean, I think you're also an instructor. Is that correct? You're also doing like
I
BBST
have been,
courses?
yeah. So I started as a foundation instructor.
Mm-hmm.
Then I worked as a lead instructor, but now I'm busy with basically overseeing the program as a VP of
Mm-hmm.
education.
Okay.
It's quite keeps me busy.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it's doing a lot of stuff, and still BBST is something on my to-do list, which I have for years to get started with the BBST stuff. But I mean, time is always the pressing topic.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
yeah, that's really cool. And so you mentioned that you're working with Accenture Song and that you're doing there some. Is it right that you're in the DevOps direction, also doing this quality mindset, quality thought leadership topic? Maybe you can share something what you're doing right now at the company. Like, what are your challenges that you have on a daily basis, and how do you deal with them?
As part of Accenture Song, I have been working with its DevOps chapter.
Mhm.
Working with really intelligent colleagues, and particularly in this area, I'm responsible for throwing light on quality and making
Mhm.
sure that while inventing technology solutions and digital transformations, we are not taking quality for granted. So
Mhm.
that's basically my key role that I play in our engagements with clients, helping them with digital transformations. But primarily, I
Mhm.
focus on improving testing processes and practices,
Okay.
identifying the gaps, and making sure that they are not forgetting about quality. So right from the designing design phase, or let's say testing the designs till production telemetry, I'm trying to oversee everything that basically falls under a typical delivery cycle.
Mhm.
Uh, we could say productivity engineering is
Mhm.
something that I'm developing myself
Interesting.
into
Mhm.
because it's something that is important.
Mhm.
And if we are to deliver quality software, it's not necessary that you have to spend extra money or you have to delay your deliveries. But if you know the ways and methods and
Mhm.
practices to do it, efficiently, I think you can still achieve that milestone. So yeah, based
Okay.
on different context, this is what I do. And challenging part about that is dealing with client expectations and stakeholder management, particularly in the role of a test manager or quality engineering manager or even quality coach. um, it gets difficult because different stakeholders have different understanding of quality, different expectations, and it becomes a challenging task to bring everybody on the same understanding, prioritizing things over whose opinions matter, helping them understand why something is important, and sometimes also giving up on things which you think are important, but from stakeholders' point of view, probably that's not the priority. So it's a mixture of lots of interesting things. But yeah, I think these challenges actually keep this uh, job very interesting for me.
Yeah, I mean, I can only relate to it. I mean, also working with different clients, and especially when they talk about quality or testing or like functional, non-functional testing, it's usually like open eyes, like, okay, you can clearly see from their face that they completely haven't thought about that topics, right? I mean, many of them have functional testing in mind, like, hey, we need to do some testing, some regression testing, final go live testing, whatever they call it. But when you talk on tops of like quality mindset, holistic testing, complete processes, check like how the pipelines are working, or like let's talk about security, or let's talk about performance. Most of them are lost. I mean, that's the scary part, that a lot of companies still, I mean, there are like a lot of companies like focusing on these topics, but there's still so many companies out there without the focus on these kind of topics. And that I think is the
Absolutely.
biggest challenge. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not surprised, but I often see people thinking about quality when there are problems happening, and
Yeah.
their approach to address these quality problems is always reactive than proactive. And though there have been lots of talks about shift left and defect prevention, I think people are still way far from understanding its significance and making conscious efforts to really make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely, completely right, and directly brings me basically to my next question, or to the next topic, is that because you invented a model. Is it a model, or is it, I don't know, a framework? It's called
It's something that saves the job.
Okay, so it's called quality conscious software delivery, and I think that's fits perfectly also in the things that you're doing on a daily basis, right? Talking to companies and explain them the value of testing. But I bet many of us out there don't know what this is all about, and why did you invented it, and what was the reason for it? Maybe you can share something with the viewers right now, what it's all about.
Absolutely. So QCSD, Quality Conscious Software Delivery, this idea was born when I was working with Zing. And I was tasked with fixing, or let's say coaching people on some of the burning issues surrounding quality in one of the important area, which is where I started doing different experiments and sitting with programmers, sitting with leadership of the cluster, sitting with testers, and trying to understand where are the problems happening. And I realized that most of the things that we were thinking were problems were basically just symptoms of the problems which were hiding somewhere else, which is where I started digging things deeper. And we did experiments after experiments, made changes, certain things on the design level, started close collaboration with our UX colleagues, started close collaboration between testers and programmers, implemented some engineering matrices in place. So combined effect of that was basically quite evident that the team could pull more tickets than it was committing in past, and the number of defects, or the, let's say, patchwork and the rework we were doing in the name of defect fixes, that was drastically reduced. And we realized that, oh, we are actually preventing lots of rework and lots of defects, which could have been a production defect and which could have become a problem. And that's where the idea of QCSD was born. I thought about it, and I basically structured it. So you can call it a framework for delivery. which compels people to think about quality at every stage of your software development and delivery. And also
Interesting.
it encourages every role in the software development, be it UX person, be it release manager, be it your engineering lead, be it your tester, to do their own part in more quality
Okay.
conscious way. And that's where basically we realize that to deliver things with high quality, you don't have to spend extra money or delay your deliveries, but all of us just need to be a little more conscious about quality by doing our own stuff. And that's what QCSD is all about. The
Nice.
framework consists of different methodologies, different recommendations, some session types that helps people basically really understand what they need to do differently and how they can do it.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, when you're talking about it, for me, it feels like, yeah, everybody should do it. Like, it should be like the typical way of working, right? I mean, no matter if you're working in testing or like if you go to work on a daily basis, you should always have the quality mindset, right? But I mean, we all know that in these like fast-paced software development cycles, there's always like, or not always, but usually comes a bit last. Quality, we need to get things done. There's an ABCDE test coming out. We need to ship stuff, blah blah blah, and KPIs and then whatnot. And but do you have something, some web page built around it, or some follow up for my viewers where they can follow up on the QSCD framework that you created?
Yes, on my website, there is a page on QCSD. I, in fact, also offer public workshops on the topic.
Okay, great.
And there has been a paper published that explains QCSD, and it also won a Eurostar Best Paper Award. So Eurostar itself published the paper, and people can also download it.
Perfect.
And
okay.
for questions,
I will
I'm
make
here.
I will make sure to put it in the video description. Yes, and of course, if you have questions to Lalit and his framework, leave a comment down below, and also get in contact with Lalit on his social media. I will also check that I get all the links that Lalit would like to share with us in the video description, so you can follow up on it. Also, if I'm not sure if you're also doing like the workshops for companies with QSCD. Is it also something that you provide or that you are thinking of, or?
Yeah, I mean, depends on what problem we are trying to solve, but I typically go on consulting different companies on Accenture song, but I also do public workshop. For example, I did one in China last year.
Oh, interesting. Cool. Yeah, that sounds really great, because I think, yeah, as you just said, I mean, like quality doesn't need to be like some extra thing on top that has to cost some additional costs. It's just a natural thing that everybody should have when working. Okay, that's really cool. So if you haven't done so far, please follow up on it. And talking about challenges, is like, what was like the most difficult and challenging situation for you in your career as a software tester? If we look back on your long career of software testing already, I mean, you have quite some years already on your back, right? So you have to have some nice stories to share.
Yeah, I do have lots of interesting stories, and you can't really have an interesting testing career without challenges, I would say.
That's true.
But the one that was really challenging for me was when I was working with one of the engineering lead whose views about testing and quality were quite different than mine. And being someone with a strong conviction in the philosophy of testing, the school of thought I belong to, and the understanding of testing I have based on my own um, serious investment in learning about the craft, it's difficult to make a compromise on those values and that understanding just because your boss wants you to do things differently. Though I'm quite open-minded about new ideas, uh, it was difficult for me to simply sign up for mere output checking and ignore the very essential part of testing, which is also about experimentation, exploration, bringing variation in your automation and thinking about different ideas. And I think probably I'm not the only one who faces this challenge, but I think my most challenging experience has been working with basically superiors without testing education and background, where
Mm-hmm.
you can't really have a conversation, a meaningful conversation with them about testing and help them understand value of testing. How I solved it, I tried to solve it in many different ways, and the final solution was to basically work with someone else who
Okay.
values.
Yeah, I mean, that this can be all like also a solution, right? I mean, I heard also similar situations already in my career that people think they know better, they know best or better about software testing, like how they do it, and then like how it should be done. And this is usually the case when people have no clue at all about testing, and they think they have a clue about testing. And so this is something like that is really challenging for sure, like convincing in a positive way that there's value in testing and how testing should be done and treated as well, and quality should be treated. And what I also think right now, and which gives me a bit of like, okay, let's see where this is heading to, is this whole AI movement right now, because we had this thing when automation became something like trendy and hip, and everybody said, oh, let's automate all the things, we can get rid of testing, we do 100% test coverage with automation, and we don't need testers anymore. We all know what happened. It's not possible.
Yeah,
Let's not go
that's my
down the
pet
way.
peeve.
So,
I think people think that picking up how Google tests software and reading it and blindly implementing it will just make them
solve
Google.
everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Done.
It doesn't work like that. People need to understand that their business model is probably different from Google. Their customers are different. The company culture is different. Their ability to build some infrastructure that probably Google has is different. So we cannot do things by books without understanding them.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's where
exactly.
people.
And what I just also had in mind is that now that we are like going in this complete AI era, like with AI, like so many tools. I mean, I've also done a lot of videos on that topic, and I think it's really interesting because I see AI tools as like another tool that we can use as testers to get better in testing, like really dig into the systems, understand complexity in system architectures. But I have already heard companies like, hey, now we have AI, we can replace testing. Yeah, it's like, let's not go that hole again. Like, I mean, we could do the same thing now with like, hey, we don't need developers. ChatGPT can write code now. But I mean, it's I don't know why it's always testing that people would like to get rid of. We could do the same thing now with design, with interaction design, with I don't know what not, with even with management, with stakeholders, with whoever you can replace with AI. But I don't know why always testing is like it feels like the fifth wheel on the wagon sometimes in development, and that's actually what I don't like about it. Yeah.
I don't know if you remember back in our days when we were working together at Sync, there was 30 days of testing challenge where we were contributing, and I wrote one blog, no testing, no AI, no agile,
Yeah,
something
so
like that.
yeah.
And that time I concluded my blog with saying, look, you never know. There will be a time where you just feed the requirements to the system and it produces software product for you, just like a pizza fresh from the oven. And that time you will need somebody to test it.
Exactly. And now finally, and that's also what I see right now, that now in the near future, like even maybe it takes another 5 years, I don't know how long it will take, but AI is now getting rid of many things and is supporting and is doing a lot of stuff, and also in the wrong way. I mean, we have seen so many examples that the output is just wrong right now. I mean, this can get better, and over time when the AI and the LLMs are learning about the data and the training and stuff and the systems. But still, I think you need to have humans that are checking specific
Absolutely.
specific
And I think,
outcomes and
particularly with all these AI things coming in, the importance of critical thinking has become tenfold more than
exactly.
how I was looking at it, because
Yeah.
you definitely need someone to make sure that the right thing has been built and right values are getting generated or correct data is getting produced for you, and not just a wide range of selection of
Exactly.
variety of data, but the right one. And yeah, I think we will anyway have to deal with these hypes for every once in a while, but I think
Yeah.
test for testers, this is nothing new. We keep getting new and new things, and we find our way through it. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same way. I see the same. I see it in a positive way. So, like what's coming to us, I think we will find a way to overcome it. And I think especially the critical thinking part is so important, not only for AI, but it's always something like to question. And but
Yeah,
yeah,
but I agree. But
that's
now people are forced to think because lots of mundane things they were
finally.
trying to get away with, or let's say they were able to survive with, will
Yeah.
certainly be done by
Mm-hmm.
AI. But if you need to collaborate with something
Mm-hmm.
that mimics your intelligence or approximates it, you need to be smarter.
Of course, definitely. Yeah, I think it's not so important in the future to learn like yet another programming language to do like some automation. It's more like to understand like the logic and what the system should do and what. So the more like I think it's more like the domain knowledge is getting also more important to know more the context of the products or the systems and also the customers what they would like to have and stuff like that in order to check what's going to happen.
My son is 6 years old, and as he's growing, he's observing me. I realize that he's learning new and new ways to manipulate me and trick me. And then I have to be, some steps ahead of him to understand how he thinks. And honestly, my experiment with play, different kind of LLMs and playing with AI has been similar. It's like the more you interact with him, the smarter it gets in understanding your patterns. And you need to make sure that you understand it and not get manipulated or tricked by the output. And I don't see any better way than developing critical thinking abilities and some really strong developing mental tools to understand what you're dealing with.
Yeah, and also not only critical thinking, but also asking the right questions or different question techniques, because that's also something. If you have tried an LLM out there, I mean, if you use like different prompts, you get different results, and the more questions and the better context you build up on those systems, the better results are there. So I think that's
a very
something
good point. Actually, it's such an important point. So I have been also co-authoring state of testing survey together with Joel, and from maybe almost last 10 years, communication skill remains the top skill for tester. And all this prompt engineering and prompting, I don't see it any different than being able to communicate.
Absolutely. Yeah, the thing that now that we have not only to communicate with human, which we do on a daily basis anyways, but now with more intelligent systems that are trained on a large data set. So yeah, this will be really interesting.
It was still easier to communicate with humans despite having poor communication skills. They could read questions, they could understand what you're saying, you're trying to say, had an empathy, emotional intelligence. But no, if your sparring partner is going to be an AI tool and assistant, you got to be smarter in getting your work done.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
No escape, testers, no escape.
No, I don't think so too. So that's really interesting. And yeah, which also brings me basically to my next question is like, now we're talking like a lot of stuff about AI, a bit of testing, and like if there are new people coming to our community of software testing, like what advice would you give to someone who would like to start in software testing? Because I've seen lately a lot of people coming also to me asking, hey Daniel, how can I get started in software testing? What I need to do in order to survive and to get my first job? And what would be your advice to a new starter, being it like fresh out of university
That's such an interesting question at such an interesting time, because if this would not have been on the age of AI, I would have answered it differently. But now that we are there, I would say anyone who wants to start current testing, think of it as a long-lasting treasure hunt, provided you have long current testing, and you need to stay curious. You need to question every clue and every source of information that you're dealing with. And yeah, you still have to think critically and learn to find information which is reliable for your stakeholders to make a decision about what to do next. So practice as much as you can, developing your critical thinking skills, prompting and effective communication. Read up something on interactional expertise. People definitely need to know how to communicate effectively with different stakeholders for different topics in a language they will understand. And with the
Oh, yeah.
rise of AI, it becomes even more important now. So apart
For
from
sure.
your foundational understanding of testing, I would say whoever learns to communicate effectively, be it with humans or be it with AI assistants, you should be fine.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, it's also something what I tell people, like the questioning, critical thinking stuff, and also, I mean, tell them like, okay, get some, as you said, foundational knowledge about software testing. I mean, there's like some formal trainings that you can do, being it good or bad at the same time. That's something that everybody has to decide. But also, like to get an understanding of technology is important. I'm not usually saying like, okay, get and learn, I don't know, language X, tool Y, and do the things and jump right into automation. It's more like, okay, to get an understanding of like how a computer works, how the systems are working, what is an API, like really fundamental things, basically to understand the digital world around the things that we're doing. And then
Absolutely. Whatever is
and
thrown
then
at them.
exactly. And then I think then it also depends on the industry, the companies, the businesses that they have the products, and then people find their way in, okay, I like more backend, I like more front ends, I like more, I don't know what, and then they can dive. Yeah, good advice. Thank you. And yeah, my very last question, to not like to extend it too much of the interview rounds that I usually do on my channel, is like, so we already briefly talked about AI in here, but where do you see the future of software testing heading to? Is there something that you can clearly see, okay, there's a trend or there's a movement? Do you see something, or you think like, hey, it's the same stuff since we're doing since, I don't know, 20 or 30 years, it just has different names. I don't know.
The more I come to think about it, Daniel, the more I'm convinced that, okay, let me put it this way. Our testing industry is extremely huge, very large. And I think only part of it, or just a small section of it or segment of it, really cares about constantly advancing, keeping themselves up to date, or maybe staying ahead of time. So I believe the future of testing is kind of going to be coexisting for many different things. There are still
Okay.
some there's still some scope of people probably who have been doing a very traditional classical factory school testing, so to speak, because there is a need from the client. But particularly with AI, I believe that a lot of this repeating work or lots of this, let's say, mediocre work is going to be easily done by some intelligent tool. And suddenly these people who have been living in their comfort zone will be challenged to do something differently, smartly. And so the future of testing is going to be quite interesting. I think if AIs are able to produce reliable results, which I believe will take some time, but by the time it happens, uh, this typical button clicking exercise has to stop. The tool will eventually take over. Even the typical automation scripting without really using your brains, that's not gonna work. So people have to be really smart and critically think about what they're doing and do those things which are appropriate in their context. So I believe testers are going to be more empowered with smart tools, if we are to talk about AI, which they can use for assisting themselves, understanding some generic, maybe domain-related questions they have not understood or they have not worked before. For example, if I'm to work in healthcare tomorrow, which I have not worked in past, I might find AI tools useful to give me some context of what matters in this industry, what are the historical important stuff and all, like
Absolutely.
general awareness, I would say. And I could use different kind of tools that are there to make my work faster.
Mhm.
But it basically means I still have to be smart enough to make a decision about what I'm picking from this wide range of information I will get. So future of testing is interesting. Definitely, in one sense, we are going to be back to square one where we started, like think,
Mhm.
and don't just do permutation and combinations of things because probably you already have AI to
Mhm.
do that for you. But how to use that in the context of your project, um, considering the risks and all sort of dependencies and constraints that AI tool is not aware of, that's where your contribution as a tester will make a difference. Yeah, so the future of testing, I think, is it belongs to testers who are not afraid of learning new tech and making themselves familiar with its usage and knowing how to use it to their advantage. At the
Mhm.
same time, not forgetting their foundational skills, which are about
Mhm.
critical thinking, analytical skills, asking questions, international expertise. I think if they can combine these things together, they can certainly create a lot of value and they will probably be the most sought after testers in the industry.
Mhm.
And by the time AI adoption becomes mainstream across all small businesses and big industries alike, probably till then the people will survive with their typical factory set
Mhm.
offerings. I think there is a market for everyone, but it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so
Okay. Thank you. Well said. Thanks for having us, for having me, or for having you today, Lalit. It was really great talking to you. For everyone who would like to know more about Lalit's work, make sure to check the video description to get all the links to Lalit's work, to his LinkedIn profile, or to his other social profiles that he would like to share with us. Thanks again for coming by today to my channel, and I wish you all the best for the future in software testing.
thank you, Daniel. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you all the best too. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you around. Bye.
What a great interview with Lalit. If you are interested in his work, make sure to show the video description for follow-up link, send him a contact request on his social media, and make sure to share his work as well with your network, because he has done such a great work with QCSD, with Tea Time with Testing, and his work in the AST. So make sure to get in contact with Lalit and thank him for all his contributions. And I hope you enjoyed the interview. Leave a thumbs up, leave a like, leave a subscription. You would like to support me, share the video with your network, and see you next time around. Bye.